What drives a man to become an architect of terror? What happens when one of the most prolific killers in America falls victim to a con? This is the starting point for the newest installment in the Saw saga, one that masterfully slips between the cracks of the first two films to offer us an intimate and transformative look at John Kramer, better known as Jigsaw. If you've ever wondered why in the first film Jigsaw seems more distant and less involved in his traps, but evolves into a more methodical and ruthless approach in the second, this new installment offers shocking answers. We're not simply going back to his roots, but we're exploring a revealing introspection of a character who experiences the shock of a con and takes this experience to dive into his cruel philosophy. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at Saw X and how it forever changed this universe. And if you want to see more videos of movies and series, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Welcome to The Oasis Geek. After his terminal diagnosis, we see John Kramer at a crossroads. Desperate to prolong his life, he succumbs to the deceptions of Dr. Cecilia Pedersen with the promise of an experimental treatment. To understand how Kramer falls victim to this scam, we must understand that John is diagnosed with brain cancer, and it is a terminal cancer. Kramer meets a man in his support group for terminally ill patients who tells him about a supposed miracle treatment. But this man was also part of the scam. John Kramer clings to hope when he learns of a supposed experimental treatment in Mexico by Dr. Cecilia Pedersen. Driven by his desire to live, Kramer travels to receive this miracle cure. Pedersen informs Kramer that she has developed a groundbreaking therapy, combining dangerous neurosurgery with an experimental cocktail of drugs. Given the high-risk nature of the procedure, it must be performed secretly in Mexico to evade U.S. regulations. Desperate, Kramer undergoes brain surgery while conscious. Blinded by the hope of saving his life, John pays hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it was all a lie. When John Kramer returns to the place where he was being housed, he finds nothing of what he expected. It had all been a facade to rob him of $250,000. It is here when John realizes that he has been swindled and that the woman he trusted with his life was really a con doctor who was dedicated to deceiving people with a short life expectancy. Kramer discovers the appalling truth. It was all an elaborate scam. The drugs he was given are placebos, the surgery never happened, and Pedersen has been taking advantage of his desperation to fatten her bank account. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there is a noticeable evolution in John Kramer's character between the first and second film. He becomes more methodical and ruthless, and it is likely that the catalyst for this change was the scam. From this point on, Jigsaw comes to accept his own impending death, but not before making sure he leaves a lasting legacy. He meticulously plans how to expand his twisted philosophy and in the process add followers to his cause. Cecilia Pedersen represents a counterpart to Kramer's distorted values. Like Jigsaw, she fervently believes that she can justify causing harm to others for a supposed greater good. In her case, money is Jigsaw's counterpart, and it was quite interesting to see her in action on screen. This duality between antagonists reflects the themes of faith, humanity, and moral justification that define Saw, and that could pave the way for a sequel, but more on that later. Another aspect that Saw X deepens is in the relationship between Jigsaw and Amanda, his apprentice. The scenes before Saw show a genuine paternal bond between the two, but also hint at the darkness to come. Jigsaw sees in Amanda a possible successor, someone to continue his sadistic legacy when he dies, but he also sees how she has no control over her impulses. As we know from the previous films, Amanda gets out of Jigsaw's hands, and he must stop her. And in this film we see the first steps towards Amanda's downfall. On the other hand, we observe a series of death traps designed not only to inflict suffering, but also to teach a lesson. We could argue that the complexity of these traps surpasses those of previous films. Although Jigsaw always left a window of opportunity for the victims to escape, the extreme difficulty of the trials made this nearly impossible. This leads us to ponder John's true intent. Despite his apparent philosophy of giving people a chance to redeem themselves, his elaborate traps seem rather designed to carry out a personal vendetta. The ending of Saw X shows John Kramer managing to escape what appeared to be the endgame for the antagonist, Dr. Cecilia Pedersen. With the help of his apprentice Amanda Young, Kramer reverses the roles and catches Cecilia and her accomplice Parker Shears, before escaping unharmed with Amanda. During the games, Parker Shears shows up at the warehouse demanding to see Cecilia, posing as another victim of the scam. But he turns out to be Cecilia's boyfriend and part of the fraud. Pulling a gun on Kramer and Amanda, Cecilia and Parker force him to participate in a blood-drowning trap, along with a boy Kramer had met earlier. But Kramer is always one step ahead and manages to free himself along with the boy, in turn setting off the final real trap that entraps Cecilia and Parker. Flashbacks show that Kramer knew Parker was part of the deception. When he arrived playing the victim, Kramer switched the bullets in his gun and predicted their every move, allowing them to believe they were in control, so they would fall for his game. In the final trap, a fiery gas floods the room where Cecilia and Parker are locked in. There is only one hole with fresh air, so they must fight to the death for it. Cecilia ends up killing Parker and is trapped with seemingly no way out, while Kramer and Amanda leave. Her final fate is left ambiguous, typical of the Saw franchise. The boy, on the other hand, receives a good amount of money after helping John survive one of the traps. But this means that there are two loose ends. Dr. Cecilia is alive, and so is the boy. This makes me think that it is very likely that we will see a sequel in which the child is already an adult and follows in Jigsaw's footsteps, or at least his philosophy. We can see how this kid goes from being a helper to become the true successor, someone worthy of continuing John's legacy. On the other hand, we could see how Cecilia becomes the antagonist again, but this time she is not only dedicated to the cons, but her near-death experience made her much more cruel and dangerous than the version we saw in the movie. I think these two characters that are left alive will be a fundamental piece in the next installments. After Jigsaw takes revenge on all the con artists with his twisted games, we thought the movie was over. But no, there's still the final blow. It turns out that Jigsaw had one last death trap planned. In a scene after the credits, he appears again in the iconic bathroom from the first film, with his loyal apprentice Hoffman. They have a new victim there, none other than the guy from Jigsaw's support group, who told him about the fake treatment. Hoffman is one of Jigsaw's most loyal disciples, and who we saw in other movies. In the end, it is not explained how the new game will be, but what we know is that it is very unlikely that the con man will survive. I think Saw X is one of the best installments of the franchise in recent years, and we look forward to seeing more of this universe. In an upcoming video, I will be showing all the references to other movies and how it connects to the rest of the characters. And if you would like to see more videos of your favorite movies and series, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on The Oasis Geek.